Welcome dear students. Today we are going to solve practice problem number 10 on page number 61. Let's begin reading question number 10. Shipra and Manisha are partners sharing profit and losses in their capital ratio. We need to underline this, profit and loss in their capital ratio. At the time of closing our profit and loss account, we will require this. Let's continue reading. You are required to prepare trading account and profit and loss account for the year ended 31st March 2019 and balance sheet as on that date. Let's begin reading our trial balance as on 31st March 2019. But before that, let us recall this symbols. For trading account, T. For profit and loss account, P and L. For partners capital or current account, PCA. Asset and liability, L. Let's now begin our debit balance. Sundry debtors, asset. Purchases, trading. Furniture, asset. Plant and machinery, asset. Wages, trading. Salaries, profit and loss account. Discount, profit and loss account. Bills receivable, asset. Carriage outward, profit and loss account. Postage, profit and loss account. Sales return, trading. Cash in hand, asset. Cash at bank, asset. Insurance, profit and loss. Opening stock, trading account. Trade expense. Students, I had mentioned to you, whenever trade expense is given, we have to check on the debit balance any other expenses given. So when I look at my debit balance and I have read my debit balance, I did not see any other expense, which means trade expense will go in my profit and loss account. Warehouse rent, profit and loss account. Advertisement, profit and loss account. Building, asset. We have completed identification on the debit side. We will now move on to our credit balance. Sales, trading, rent, profit and loss account. Sundry creditors, liability. Purchase, return, trading account. Discount, profit and loss account. Bills payable, liability. Capital, and I also have current account. So students, we had mentioned to you when capital and current account both are given, capital will go to my liability and current account will go to my PCA. With this students, we have completed step number 1, identification. We are now ready to begin with the second step, that is reading of adjustments and marking star in the trial balance. Now again students, remember anything related to goods, capital or drawings, we do not mark any star. So let's reading our adjustment number 1. Stock on 31st March 2019 was valued at rupees 37,000. Stock on 31st March, it is related to my closing stock, and stock is related to goods, so I will not mark any star in my trial balance. Adjustment number 2, sales includes sale of machinery. So I have sales and I have machinery of rupees 2,000, which is sold on 1st April 2018, which means it is sold at the beginning of the year. Now students, I will explain you this adjustment while we are doing the sum. Now we will only mark star for sales and for machinery. So sales, we have it on our credit balance. So in the credit balance for sales, I'll mark a star. And machinery comes onto my debit balance. So I will mark star for plant and machinery. I now move on to adjustment number 3. Depreciation on fixed assets at the rate of 5%. They have clearly mentioned fixed assets. So on the debit side, we will have to check our fixed assets. So let us mark a star. Data is not my fixed asset, it is my current asset. Furniture is my asset, so I'll mark a star. Plant and machinery is also my fixed asset, so I'll mark a star. Bills receivable is my current asset, so I will not mark a star. Cash in hand, cash at bank is also my current asset, so I will not mark a star. And building is my fixed asset, so I'll mark a star. We now move on to adjustment number 4. Each partner is entitled to get commission at 1% of gross profit and interest on capital 5%. It is related to partners and it is related to capital, so I do not need to mark any star. Adjustment number 5. Outstanding expenses, wages rupees 200 and salary rupees 500. So I'll mark star for wages and for salaries. So on my debit side, I have wages, I'll mark a star, and for salaries, I'll mark a star. Adjustment number 6. Create provision for doubtful debts at 3% on sundry debtors. Provision for doubtful debts is related to my RDD. And it is related to debtors, so I will mark star for debtors and I will check if I have bad debts. So I will mark star for debtors as well as bad debts. So I have debtors, I'll mark a star. I will check if I have bad debts. No, I do not have bad debts, so I don't mark a star. With this, students, we have completed our step number 2, reading of adjustment and marking star in the trial balance. We are now ready to begin with our step number 3, that is empty the trial balance. So we can write it in our inner column as well as outer column. But before we begin, there are certain basic things that we need to write. So let us begin writing. On trading account debit side, we will begin with 2 opening stock. Next line, I will write 2 purchases less returns. On my trading account credit side, I will write buy sales less returns. In profit and loss account debit side, students, we normally write our bad debts table, but in this sum, as we have already read, there's only one entry for RBD. So we do not write the bad debts table. Balance sheet asset side, we will write debtors, which comes from my trial balance. We have read our adjustment and we only have RDD. So we'll only write RDD, which comes from my adjustment. So we will now start with our debit balance. First one, we have sundry debtors. There is a star, so I will write it in the inner column. I have already written my debtors table, so I'll write it in the inner column, 28,000. Next is purchases, which goes in my trading account. I have already written purchases in my trading account. I'll write it in the inner column, 55,000, because I have returns to minus. Next is furniture, which will be written on my asset side. I will write furniture. There is a star mark, so I'll mark a star, write it in the inner column, 38,500. Next is plant and machinery. Again on my asset side, I'll write plant and machinery. There are 2 stars, so I'll mark 2 stars and write it in the inner column, 60,000. Next is wages, which will come in my trading account. there is a star, so I'll write it in the inner column. To wages, in the inner column I will write 800. Next is salaries, which will go in my profit and loss account. So in profit and loss account, on the debit side, I will not write anything on the first line. I will write 2 salaries. There is a star, so I'll mark a star and I'll write it in the inner column 3,500. Next is discount, again in profit and loss account. So on the debit side, I'll write 2 discount. There is no star, I'll write it in the outer column 800. Next is bills receivable. So on my asset side, I will write bills receivable. Since there is no star, I'll write it in the outer column 14,400. Next is carriage outward, which will go in my profit and loss account. So in profit and loss account debit side, I'll write 2 carriage outward. Since there is no star, I'll write it in the outer column 1000. Next is postage. Again in profit and loss account debit side, I will write 2 postage. There is no star, outer column 500. Next is sales return, which I'll write it on my trading account. So trading account credit side, I've already written sales return. In the inner column, I'll write 500. Next is cash in hand, which I'll be writing it on my asset side. So I will write down cash in hand. There is no star, so outer column 4,000. Next is cash at bank, again on the asset side. So I'll write cash at bank. There is no star, outer column 47,000. Next is insurance, which I'll write in profit and loss account. So profit and loss account debit side, I'll write 2 insurance. There is no star, I'll write it in the outer column 2,000. Next is opening stock, which I'll write it in my trading account. So trading account debit side, I've already written opening stock. So directly in the outer column, I will write 17,800. Next is trade expense, which I'll write in profit and loss account. So profit and loss account debit side, I'll write 2 trade expense. There is no star, outer column 1,500. Next I have warehouse rent. Again on profit and loss account debit side, I'll write 2 warehouse rent. There is no star, outer column 2,500. Next is advertisement. Again in profit and loss account, I'll write 2 advertisement. There is no star, outer column 1000. Next is building, which I'll write on my asset side, and there is a star. So on the asset side, I will write building. I'll mark a star and I'll write it in the inner column 20,000. With this, students, we have completed our debit balance. We will now move on to our credit balance. Let's begin with the credit balance. We have sales, which will go in my trading account, and there is a star. So trading account credit side, I have already written sales. I will mark a star and I'll still write the amount in the inner column. Now students, I will not total this because there is a star. So I will leave it. Next is rent, which I'll write it in my profit and loss account credit side. I will write by rent. There is no star, outer column 1,800. Next is sundry creditors, which I'll write on my liability side. So on the liability side, I will leave around 5 to 6 lines and then I will write sundry creditors. There is no star, I'll write it in the outer column 38,500. Next is purchase return, which will be written in my trading account. So trading account debit side, I've already written purchase return. So I'll write it in the inner column 1000. Now students have completed this table. So I can do my calculation. 55,000 minus 1000 will give me 54,000 in the outer column. Next is discount, which will be written in my profit and loss account credit side. So profit and loss account credit side, I'll write by discount. There is no star, outer column 500. Next is bills payable, which I'll write on my liability side. So on the liability side, I will write bills payable. There is no star, so outer column 9,000. Next is capital. So capital will be again written on my liability side. I'll give the heading as capital account. Underline it. Write the names of the partner, Shipra and Manisha. And I'll write their amounts directly in the outer column, 90,000 and 30,000. Next is my current account, which will be written in my partner's current account. On the credit side, I will write down by balance brought down. For Shipra, it is 5,000 and for Manisha, it is 3,000. With this, students, we have completed our credit balance and step number 3. We are now ready to begin with our step number 4, that is adjustments. Remember, students, adjustments have 2 effects. Let's begin with the first adjustment. Stock on 31st March 2019 was at rupees 37,000. This is my closing stock, and stock is related to goods. So my first effect will come in my trading account. So trading account, on the credit side, I will write by closing stock. In the outer column, 37,000. This is my first effect. My second effect will be on the asset side. I will write closing stock, 37,000. Adjustment number 2. Sales includes sale of machinery of rupees 2,000, which is sold on 1st April 2018. Students, this is a new adjustment that you are going to be learning today. It says that sales include sale of machinery. By mistake, the sale of machinery which we had done is included in sales. So if it is included by mistake, we will have to exclude it. So let us do the first effect. So trading account, on my credit side, by mistake I included the sale of machinery, so I will exclude. Exclude is minus, so less sale of machinery, which is rupees 2,000. This is my first effect. But students, we have also completed our entire table. So let us do the calculation. 1,20,000 minus 500 and again minus 2,000. So I'll get a total of 1,17,500 in the outer column. This is my first effect for sale of machinery. My second effect will be on the asset side. In plant and machinery, we have sold the machine, students. So when we sell the machine is gone out. So I'll have the effect as less sale of machine, which is rupees 2,000. Now I can minus this. 60,000 minus 2,000 will give me 58,000, which I'll still write in the inner column because there is another star. So this is my second effect for sale of machine. Adjustment number 3, depreciation on fixed assets at the rate of 5%. So let us do our first effect of depreciation. So on the asset side, we have furniture. So I'll say less dep at the rate of 5%. We can do our calculation. 38,500, 5% will give me 1,925. I can minus the students and write it in the outer column. 38,500 minus 1,925. I'll get a total of 36,575. This is my first effect for depreciation on furniture. My second effect will be in profit and loss account debit side. I will write to deb on furniture. In the outer column, 1925. Again on the asset side, we have plant and machinery, which is again my fixed asset. So I'll say less deb at the rate of 5%. So I will calculate 58,000 5%, which will give me an amount of 2,900. Now I've completed it, so I can do my calculation. 58,000 minus 2,900 will give me 55,100. This is my first effect. My second effect will be in profit and loss account debit side. I will write down to deb on plant and machinery. In the outer column, I'll write 2,900. Again on the asset side, I have building as my fixed asset. So again I'll do depreciation less deb at the rate of 5%. So 20,000 5% will give me 1,000. 20,000 minus 1,000 will give me 19,000 in the outer column. This is my first effect. My second effect will be in profit and loss account debit side. I will write to deb on building. In the outer column, 1,000. Now move on to adjustment number 4. Each partner is entitled to get commission at 1% of gross profit. Now students, we cannot do this unless and until we complete all our adjustments. So we will do this at the end. So we'll just put a tick mark over here and we'll say that we do this at the end. But there's something else also given along with it. And interest on capital 5% per annum. We can do the calculation of interest. So let us first do our calculation of interest on capital. Our capital amount that we have is 90,000 and 30,000. So let's do the calculation on this. So we are calculating interest on capital. For Shipra, our capital amount was 90,000. And for Manisha, our capital amount was 30,000. Now on this, we are supposed to calculate 5%. So let us do 5% calculation. So 20 gets cancelled, 20 gets cancelled. 9 5s are 45, so 4,500. 20 cancel, 20 cancel. 300 into 5, that is 1,500. This is my interest on capital. So my first effect will be in my partner's current account. So in partner's current account, on my credit side, I will write by interest on capital. 4,500 for Shipra and 1,500 for Manisha. This is my first effect on interest on capital. My second effect will be in profit and loss account debit side, since interest on capital is my expense. So on the debit side, I'll write to interest on capital. I will underline, write the names of the partner, that is Shipra and Manisha. And I'll write the amount in the outer column 4,500 and for Manisha 1,500. Adjustment number 5, outstanding expenses, wages rupees 200 and salaries. Let us first do for wages. So in my trading account on the debit side, I'll write add outstanding 200 rupees. So 800 plus 200 will give me 1,000 rupees. This is my first effect. My second effect will be on the liability side. I will write outstanding wages. In the outer column, 200. Next is outstanding expense salaries rupees 500. So my first effect will be profit and loss account debit side. I have salaries, add outstanding 500 rupees. I can now do my calculation. 3,500 plus 500 will give me 4,000. This is my first effect. My second effect will be on the liability side. I will write outstanding salaries 500. Adjustment number 6. Create provision for doubtful debts at the rate of 3% on sundry debtors. I told you students, provision for doubtful debts is nothing but my RDD. So I will have to calculate on 28,000 3%. So let us do our calculation. So debtors amount is given to us is 28,000. On 28,000 I have to calculate 3%. That is 3 upon 100. 2 zeros and 2 zeros will get cancelled. 280 multiplied by 3 will give me 840 rupees. So my first effect will be on the asset side. For RDD, I will write 840. I have completed my table. 28,000 minus 840 will give me 27,160. This is my first effect of RDD. My second effect will be written in profit and loss account debit side. Since we have not written our bad debts table, we can directly write 2RDD and write the amount in the outer column 840. With this, students, we have completed all our adjustments, but we still have adjustment number 4, calculation of commission on gross profit, which is pending. We can only do this after we close our trading account. So let us do our step number 5, closing of trading account. So we will now close our trading account. So on the debit side, we will total all the amount. When we total this amount, we get a total of 72,800. And now in the same manner, I will total my credit column. When I total my credit column, I get a total of 1,54,500. Now students, we will follow the ledger format. We'll double underline on both the side. Bigger total to be written on both the sides. So 1,54,500 will be written on both the side. From the bigger total, I will minus the smaller total. So 1,54,500 minus 72,800. I'll get a balance of 81,700, which I'll write it on top. Now my income is more than my expense. So when my income is more than my expense, which means my business has made a profit. So I'll write to gross profit carried down. Now since I have got my gross profit, I can now do my calculation of commission. So since we have got a gross profit, we can now complete this adjustment. That is, partners are entitled to get commission at 1% of gross profit. So let us do our calculation. For Shipra as well as for Manisha, our gross profit was 81,700. So on 81,700, we have to calculate 1% each. So for both of them, I will calculate 81,700, 1%. So when we do the calculation, for Shipra, I'm getting an amount of 817, and for Manisha also 817. So let's do our effect for commission for partners. My first effect will be in partners' current account. On the credit side, I will write down by commission. For Shipra, 817. And for Manisha, 817. This is my first effect. My second effect will be in profit and loss account debit side. I will write down to commission, underline it, write the name of partner, Shipra and Manisha. It is an expense for the business. 817 and 817. this, students, we have completed our step number 4, that is all our adjustments. And we have also closed our trading account and we have got a gross profit on the debit side. Now this gross profit, which is on the debit side, we will now transfer it to profit and loss account on the credit side. So profit and loss account on the credit side, I will write down by gross profit brought down 81,700. Now we will close our profit and loss account. So when we total our debit balance of profit and loss account, we get a total of 27,599. And in the same manner, when we total our credit balance, I get a total of 84,000. Now students, in the same ledger format, we will double underline on both the side. Bigger total to be written on both the side. So 84,000 will be written on both the side. From the bigger total, I will minus the smaller total. 84,000 minus 27,599. I'll get a total of 56,401, which I will write it on top. Now this amount I will have to distribute between the partners. But before that, students, my income is more than my expense. When my income is more than my expense, which means my business has made a profit. So I'll write to net profit transferred to current account. And I will underline this, write the names of the partner, Shipra and Manisha. Now this is my net profit, which I will distribute to them according to their ratio. When we read the sum at the beginning, we had read that the partners are sharing their profit and losses according to their capital ratio. So we will be calculating the capital ratio. The capital amount for Shipra and the capital amount for Manisha. For Shipra it is 90,000 and Manisha's capital amount is 30,000. So let us do the calculation of ratio. So we'll cancel the zeros. When we cancel the zeros, 3 ones are 3. I can reduce it, and 3 threes are 9. So my ratio is 3:1. This is the ratio that the partners are going to share their profit and loss. Now my net profit that I got from the sum is rupees 56,401. Now this amount I will distribute it to both the partners, that is for Shipra as well as for Manisha. So 56,401. Now how do we calculate the net profit according to the ratio? The total of this ratio is equal to 4. How I got 4? 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. So Shipra's share is 56,401 multiplied by 3 divided by 4. And for Manisha, we will do 56,401 multiplied by 1 divided by 4. So when I calculate it, students, for Shipra, I get an amount of 42,301. And for Manisha, I get a total of 14,100. This is my calculation of net profit. So my net profit, I did my calculation of ratio. Shipra was 3 and Manisha was 1. We also calculated our net profit according to the ratio. So for Shipra, we got an amount of 42,301. And for Manisha, we got an amount of 14,100. Now students, this is on the debit side of my profit and loss account. Now this amount will be transferred to the credit side of my current account. So on the credit side of current account, I will write down by net profit brought down. Shipra is 42,301 and Manisha is 14,100. Now in the same way, we will close our partner's current account. If you look at the current account, we only have the credit balances. There is no debit balance. So we will total the amount on the credit side. Credit side of Shipra's amount comes to 52,618. And when we total Manisha's column, we get a total of 19,417. So this is my bigger total, which will be written on both the side. 52,618, 19,470. Now there is nothing on my debit side which I can minus. So the same total I will write it on top. 52,618 and 19,417. This will be written as to balance carried down. So this is my current account balance, which is on my debit side, which will be now posted on to my credit side of my balance sheet, which is called as liability. So on the liability side, I will give the heading as current account, underline it, write the names of the partner, Shipra and Manisha. I can write the amount directly in the outer column. Shipra is 52,618 and Manisha is 19,470. And now when I total my liability side, I get a total of 2,40,235. And in the same manner, when I total my asset side, I get the same total as my liability as 2,40,235. With this students, we have tallied our sum number 10 and I hope you have understood the problem.